Buy my novel, Escape from the Village, from major booksellers online. Go to escapevillage.com. Subscribe to my Substack. Go to fountainheadforum.substack.com. Thank you. Welcome to the party, pal. This is Fountainhead Forum 113. I've got Italo Omegna. We're going to talk about Javier Milei. He is from Chile, so he's going to give us a perspective there. We're also going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in his home country. The Chile and Argentina share the third longest border in the world. The border between Russia and Kazakhstan and the border between the USA and Canada are the only borders that are longer. So he definitely has a perspective. I guess it's only an hour from Santiago to Buenos Aires by plane. So we're going to talk to one of Milei's neighbors in Argentina. How are you, Italo?
Very well. Thank you for the invitation, Chris. I'm very glad to be talking about this. That is so important, I believe, not just for South America, but also for the effect it might have in the political world around the world, right? So
I agree. I think this could be huge. So for starters, how did you get into anarcho-capitalism and libertarianism?
Well, long story short, I was studying. To be honest, I wasn't really really aware of all the libertarian movement or Austrian School of Economics and stuff. I was studying med. I was in med school in Argentina, in Rosario, and well, surprise to me, pretty much everything that we talk about was politics and how socialism was amazing, and the Tratado de Puebla group, and other socialist groups, and the first 3 months about in med school were about that. So a lot of things didn't make sense, and that's how I started to look up for answers and end up, falling into a Hayek book named La Fatal Arrogancia. Which I don't remember well the translation in English.
Say that slower, please.
La Fatal Arrogancia.
La Patel.
Yes. So it's one of the famous book of Hayek, together with Road of Serfdom.
Yeah, is it the Spanish version of the Road to Serfdom?
Yeah. So it's another one, but it's in the same collection from Unión Editorial, which is the editorial that actually published these books in Spanish. So yeah, and I started reading about that. Then I read Henry Hazlitt, Economics in One Lesson, and end up finally reading For a New Liberty of Murray Rothbard, and yeah, that's how I got into the ideas. End up coming back to Chile because of the pandemics, and open a library, and now I'm the president of the Libertarian Party here in Chile.
Those are good places to start. Economics in One Lesson and Road to Serfdom are pretty easy reads. They're definitely. I mean, Hazlitt wrote a lot for newspapers, so he was used to writing to the common audience. So how did you discover our man Javier Milei? You're in Chile. I'm sure he's been there a few times.
Yeah, actually, yeah, I got to spend some time with him when he came here to Chile. Back in Argentina, I actually started hearing about him when I was looking for these answers, right? Trying to make sense of all the information that they were giving to me. And I remember my dad used to send me videos of him, but I didn't get much of what he was saying because I was just getting started with all this. And yeah, well, end up listening to Axel Kaiser, which is a Chilean intellectual that has done a hell of a job with promoting the liberty ideas in South America, in all South America, and then everything started to make sense of what Milei said, and of course, once I start to get into politics here in Chile, yeah, I paid more attention of what he was doing, and everything he was achieving and has achieved back in Argentina, which is amazing.
Yeah, it is quite amazing. Just to let everybody know, the border between Argentina and Chile is 5,308 kilometers, or 3,298 miles. As we know, Chile is a very long but narrow country. I should ask you, Talo, if I want to drive from the far north to the far south, how long will that take me?
Well, to study, I
Or if
used
you
to
don't know,
go.
that's fine. But yeah.
I mean, I believe it should take you around um, 3 days, maybe 2 days and a half, 3 days from one corner, from one extreme to the other.
Oh man.
And
Well, yeah.
around
Maybe if I
3 days,
never
I think.
sleep, but yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah, if you never sleep, I
yeah.
mean,
And
constant
they're not.
driving,
Yeah.
right?
Apparently there are border disputes down south. They want to fight over these ice fields that where nobody wants to live, but they want to fight over the land anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so yeah. So Milei. So yeah, he's done very well. What do you? So when did you first notice Milei? Was it you said a few years ago, or how? What about? I mean, he was still in Congress, obviously.
Yeah, no, before Congress.
Oh,
That's
before
when.
Congress. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 2019. I'm talking about. So
Oh,
Milei started. I can't remember the exactly year where he started to appear on television, but he was like sort of this public figure that was really extroverted and really euphoric to talk and argue, very, very passionate, which is something that Argentinians really like, right? So he used to be in these small shows together with his at that time friend Diego Giacomini, which is another Austrian economist, Argentinian, right?
what
Austrian
was that?
economist,
What was that name again?
Diego Giacomini.
Diego Giacomini.
Yeah. So him and Milei used to get invited to these TV shows, right, where they talk about the eternal crisis that Argentina has been through, economical crisis, right? And they
Yes.
both wrote, I think, around 3 books together, trying to
Yeah.
solve or propose an economical program to try to
Yeah.
fix all this mess that is Argentina. And yeah, well, they used to be best friends. Then I think they have a discussion, and they are not friends anymore. But then Milei just keep on appearing on television and become really popular to the point that I would say Milei is kind of like a rock star back in Argentina. I mean, he walks in the street and people just don't stop coming next to him and asking for pictures and saying things to him and everything.
Yeah. This is where I think is maybe part of what's been the formula for the success of Milei. He was in a rock band for a while, and he was also a soccer. He was also playing football,
Yeah,
as
when
you
he
call
was
it, your kind, the South American kind of football, and I think maybe that created the kind of personality that's made him go out there and really get a lot of attention. I,
well, I,
I, I look at a lot of American libertarians, and I don't. I see some libertarians who are in music. I see very few who play sports. This may be what's real, and being an economist at the same time, though, it looks like it's created this type of personality that's really attracted a lot of people
I mean, putting on place. I mean, what is the culture in Argentina? If you get into a cab in Argentina,
into
every cab
what?
driver, a taxi. Uh,
Yes,
so if you get into a cab or taxi, right? It
yes,
pretty much. I would dare to say that at least 80% of the population try to become soccer players in Argentina. Okay,
yeah,
so Milei is just one more in that statistic. He used to be a goalkeeper. I used to play soccer in Argentina, semi-pro. I know that pretty much all goalkeepers are crazy. They have really passionate personalities where they just yell and just blow in the middle of the matches and stuff like that. And Milei is just like a goalkeeper in Argentina. I gotta tell you that.
yeah. It's very interesting. So is he pretty friendly with everybody who meets him on the street, or does he just kind of say, "Get out of here, I'm busy"? It's
No, no, he's very friendly, and I mean, friendly. Yeah, he's very friendly, understanding that he's someone that you cannot walk in the street just next to him because you just don't walk. Just people just come around and start asking questions
yeah,
and immediately but he's really friendly with people. However, he doesn't what is the word, like the opposite to trust. He doesn't trust the political world or the journalists and stuff like that. So in that case he might not be that friendly, but with people, common people in the streets, is a really close, warm person with the people.
Yeah, it sounds like he's doing really, really well with that sense. I think that probably makes a difference.
Hmm.
So it's and you've been around him, so you've seen this happen. Uh, does he have that kind of notoriety in Chile as well, or I guess you've seen it in Argentina?
I mean, Milei is at least a South American phenomenon. I mean, in Chile, he came the last time not long ago, I believe less than a year, and he gave a lecture, just one lecture, and he just filled the entire theater, and it was, I think, 900 people. It was an open sign up, so to go to the lecture, it was free, and they have capacity for 900 people, and in less than 2 hours they have 3,000 people sign up for the lecture, which is something like, I believe there's no other politician in the world that could get that amount of people here in Chile just to listen to him speak. So a lot of people got outside, couldn't get into the theater, and they were pissed. But he was part of this huge phenomenon that is Javier Milei in South America. In Argentina, he fulfill full stadiums. I mean, he's crazy.
Yeah. How much time do you spend in Argentina? It sounds like you go over there a lot. Maybe half your time, or maybe 2 or 3 months
I
a year. I mean, it sounds
I
like you
I
make a lot of trips.
Yeah, I personally love Argentina because, as I told you, when I was younger, I wanted to be a soccer player. So I went to live there. I finished my last year of high school in Buenos Aires. Later on, I went there for another year to study, to go to med school. And I always been around in Argentina because, to me, it's my favorite country in the world. I gotta be honest. I know that's crazy, but it is. I've been around and I really love Argentina. I love Argentinian culture.
They don't like football as in Chile as well, I guess. Or
Yeah, well, yes. Argentina is crazy. I mean, everything is soccer. Every single little team has a stadium. Everyone is a supporter of some soccer team, even if it's the team of your region or somewhere else. I mean, everyone wants to be soccer players. It's just amazing. But it's not just about that. I mean, Argentina is crazy or not, but I believe Argentina is a culture where the social class struggle rhetoric, it doesn't it's not as influential as it is here in Chile. I mean, in Argentina, you get people that are wealthy people playing a soccer match on the weekend with people that might not have money to buy shoes, for example,
yeah,
and both of them believe they're the best player in the world. So you get like this connection when they in that, they have a barbecue, and everyone is really friendly with each other and they want to talk. And yeah, I really like Argentinian culture, to be honest.
that is one of the really beautiful things about sports, and it is one of those play. And sports is really the ultimate anti-socialist thing, because it's always just based on the results you produce. Although, Italo, I've got to tell you that this is going to happen
Mhm.
with all the Venezuelans leaving Venezuela. They are all going to come. They're going to turn every South country in South America into a baseball country. They're going.
I know.
They're going to do that. Yes.
They will absolutely. I mean, here in Chile, we having a
Yeah.
huge wave of immigration from Venezuela. I mean,
Yeah.
there's Venezuelan everywhere, and I have a lot of friends, and they're all big baseball fans, which is something that in
Yeah.
Chile we never seen. I mean, I don't know a single Chilean that actually know the name of one baseball player.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a huge
Just
cultural
give it
change.
time. Give it time. Yeah.
You a baseball fan? Are you a baseball fan?
Yeah. One thing you got to realize: Americans hardly care less. Could hardly care about soccer. I mean, Messi can walk down the street in America and nobody will know who he is. I mean, it's.
I know.
I know it's America's never been a soccer country. It's
I know, I know, I know. I believe that's one of the reasons why he just, moved to play in US, because he can walk freely in the streets without everyone just coming
yeah.
around and asking for
Yeah,
pictures.
I definitely think that's part of it. He can make money, and yeah, yeah. I've heard he's a really great guy too.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's part of the Messi is
yeah,
part of. a huge cultural change in Argentina, because before Messi, the big idol of every single Argentinian kid and every single Argentinian was Diego Armando Maradona. And Maradona
Yes.
was a full-on socialist. I mean,
Oh
you
yeah.
have the Che Guevara tattoo here.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
was
he was awful.
really
Yeah.
he was an awful person. He was a really awful
Yeah.
person that
Uh,
was used by the political
well,
intentions. That
yeah. Well, Martha Bueno was on here, and he also said he liked his girlfriends really young too. Uh,
hmm
yeah, it was. But
among others things
yeah,
that Maradona had. And suddenly, this young kid named Lionel Messi start playing and get them a World Cup, which is the only thing they had left to do. And it's the complete opposite to Maradona. It's someone that doesn't like full attention. It's
yeah,
someone that is really humble, that only cares about soccer. He doesn't have any political opinion, even though sometimes you get to think he doesn't like socialists or politicians, which is something good. But he doesn't get involved with that. And it's a huge change of role model for all Argentinian kids,
yeah.
and that have a huge impact on them.
I wonder if that had. I wonder if that. I wonder how much that makes a difference just with the promoting of socialism versus capitalism. Let's get back to Milei though. So yeah, you really, and of course, it's probably, I suppose it's very easy to cross between the countries. You got the same language. I mean, they can't even. And how do they even tell if you're from Chile or not? I suppose there's a difference in the accents, right?
Yes, there is huge difference though.
Although to us Americans, you all sound the same. But yeah,
Yeah, no, but I mean, so you can get an idea.
yeah.
Chilean people are like the Scottish people of Spanish, you know? No one can understand us, and we speak really fast and have really interesting accent. So
Oh,
that's
all the Spanish speakers speak fast. It's like 1,000 words a minute. I mean, I think it always seems that way with the foreign language. But yeah, it's like I
but
definitely.
I mean, even South Americans don't understand Chileans. That's my point.
Oh
They
wow,
don't understand. We can understand Argentinian, Italy, Colombian, Peruvian, all of them,
yeah,
but they can't understand us. If I'm with another Chilean and we start speak Spanish and we have an Argentinian next to us, he won't understand anything of what we're saying.
yeah, yeah. That's good. You're actually you're not that old either. Milei sounds like he's really doing a lot with the younger voters. Is that true?
It is true, and that's what I mean. That's his huge achievement. I mean, in Argentina, there's some statistics that says that at least 1 out of 3 are Argentinian, young adults and teenagers are libertarians. And right now, we're talking about Hayek and if Rothbard is better or Ayn Rand or whatever, they just talk about that, which is huge. That I never seen that in my life in any country, and even less in South American countries.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as who do you think Milei's and who do this is one thing. Do you think we're going to see a younger, a new generation of Milei's? Because Milei's about he's in his early 50s, but see some people are going to start reading Hayek or reading Hazlitt or reading some of these other people. It's or
Mhm.
even Venegas Lynch or Ortega y Gasset or some of the
They are.
humanists who started with Spanish. And I've had quite a few Spanish speaking economists on here. It's been probably as many from Spain as from Argentina, but they all know Milei. It's
hmm
been very enlightening.
Yeah, I mean, the movement has been increasing very fast. Millet is one of the main reasons, but also a lot of new think tanks, libertarian think tanks, are starting to emerge here in Chile and in Argentina, and a lot of intellectuals that are starting getting into this discussion, and of course the new generations, as you mentioned. So that's the reason I believe that is uh, the, the most important achievement that Milei has done, and together with all these intellectuals, that many of them are from Argentina, as you mentioned, Venegas Lynch. You also have Martin Krauss. You have Gabriel Zanotti, Giacomini, and many others. I mean, there's a huge new school of libertarians and Austrian School of Economics, or but libertarian ideas at the end, and together with the new generations, that
Okay.
gives a lot of hope, especially for Argentina, but also for the rest of South America.
Yeah. Martin Krause, who was that other person you mentioned?
Yeah, Martin Kraus. I'll write it in the chat for you.
Yeah.
Who's gonna be the new, let's call it, education minister of Milei. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, what can you tell me about some of the people who are around Milei?
well, that's a huge question, because one of the things that Milei has is that he's never been in politics before. So if
Yeah,
you put it in context, he's just an economist that start to appear in television and start to make all these statements. They are controversial and radical compared to what is the status quo in Argentina, and start to become and turn into a huge phenomenon for Argentina and the region. So a lot of people start to get close to him, people that weren't very well known in politics in Argentina. And yeah, one of the big challenges of Milei is trying to solve this issue. I mean, he become huge, and of course, once you become really popular, a lot of people wants to get around you to get a little bit of that power, right? And or that those benefits. So yeah, there's some controversy about the people who's been around him. However, I believe he's done a hell of a job with the very low experience, or pretty much non-experience that he had on politics. Of course, he might made some mistakes, but as I said, that's one of the big questions on how it's gonna what's gonna happen on a possible government, right? So yeah, I know there's some good people, but also I heard really bad things about other people. Um, I guess we can only wait and see what's gonna happen.
yeah. I think that's really key, though. If he's because sometimes people can surround themselves with the wrong people and can undermine their message. What are your opinions of Victoria Ruel?
Yeah, so I heard crossed opinions about her. I'm not a big follower of her, but what I've seen, she's been really, which I value, really prudent. Prudent, I think is the word. Prudent, does it make sense? Like prudence, um, like prudential. Like she's been really, no, like or really precise at the moment of speak, and not talking much than she needs to speak, or to talk, to say, not saying much than more than what she needs to say, and just talking about the things that she knows, and just letting all the things that she doesn't handle very well to Milei. So yeah, I believe she's done a good job being a vice president for Milei, in the Milei formula, right? um, so yeah, I have a good opinion of her, even though I heard cross opinions on her political career.
Yeah. Anybody else stand out who's on Milei's team?
Yeah, well, you have many people. As I said, Kraus, which is I think once I actually had the first interview to Martin Kraus when he got announced as the new education minister, and he's a hell of an intellectual, a great professor, economic professor. He works in UFM and Universidad Francisco Marroquín, also in Universidad de Buenos Aires. Um, and he has a long career on defending the liberty ideas. So I'm really happy for that announcement. And also, the rest of the ministers have been really confidential. I mean, Milei's been asked many times about who's going to be the minister of this or that or whatever, and he's been just not naming anyone. He said that he already has the names of every single ministry. However, he hasn't reveal it to the public because, well, also because he doesn't have the media on his side. Every single person that he revealed his name before time is probably gonna get a huge uh, operetta, they call it. But I mean, the entire media trying to look up if or find some dirt on him, So that's the reason that he says why he haven't revealed the name of the ministers.
Yeah, and he doesn't necessarily have to. I understand why he would, though. But they can try to bring out dirt anytime. But yeah, it's he's been very
And they
protective.
done it.
You know, you
They
know,
done it.
one thing
Mhm.
I've noticed too about Milei is he seems to be having fun at this. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, I see him smiling a lot. He's definitely bringing a good energy to this. What do you think Milei did, for example, that somebody like Jose Luis Espert didn't do, or
Woo.
yeah,
Yeah, well, if you follow his career, before he even thought about getting into politics, he had many videos where he says that Jose Luis Esper was his candidate to be president.
yeah,
So they have an intellectual discussion about means in order to achieve what they wanted, which is, reduce the end inflation and reduce the government control. Uh, yeah, at one point they got they have a discussion, so they follow different paths. And Spirit has had a lot of news or a lot of things that were revealed about getting money from narcotics, for what I heard, and it was in the media. And also he started to get involved with Juntos por el Cambio, which is the right wing coalition that right now is competing with Milei in order to see which of them are going to become president. So yeah, he
yeah,
went there and they fight. So yeah, they have difference, especially with the dollarization plan. Milei wants to
yes.
dollarize the Argentinian
Oh,
economy, and Expert is not up to that.
yeah, Juntos por el Cambio. Oh my goodness, that's Bullrich. Oh,
Yeah,
oh
Expert is
gosh,
with her. Expert is
oh
with her.
she might be the most unlikable woman I've ever seen on television anywhere. I mean, uh, I don't. After watching the two debates, I can't figure out which of the two is worse. They're so horrible.
Miriam Bregman. Well, Miriam Bregman is just a full-on socialist. He's just I want socialism. That's what
You know,
Bregman.
I've noticed something though. She's looking at him. She's kind of. I think and she was talking about him when other people were asking her questions. I think she's fallen in love with him.
Well, you never know, right?
She's at least yeah. And Massa. Oh, don't get me started on Sergio Massa. Yeah, he's another one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I mean I don't know how that works out yet. But the Juntos por el Cambio, what can you? This is a rather interesting electoral system they have. What can you tell us about that system that they have? Because it looks like they have these parties, but they have coalitions.
Yes. So the reason of that is because in Argentina, in order for you to 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 create a political party, you need to be constituted in 5 states. All right. So what
Yes.
happened? For example, Milei, his coalition is called La Libertad Avanza. And why
Yeah.
is that? Because the Libertarian Party in Argentina is only constituted in 3 states. So what they do is they
Yeah.
make an alliance with other two parties that are constituted in other states, and that's what they call La Libertad Avanza. So yeah, they need 5 states in order to build that coalition. Juntos por el Cambio is the same. So they have different political parties that are constituted in other states, and they just put the 5 states together and they call it Juntos por el Cambio. The same with the other ones, Frente para Todos. I don't know what is the name right now. What they have is they have 3 elections. The first one, or it should be 3 elections, unless Milei got elected in the next elections now in the 22 of October. So the first one is called Pasos, which is pretty much like a poll, like a compulsory
Yeah.
poll, a national poll, where everyone needs to go and vote, and and that way the coalitions get to see which of the candidates are the most popular. so they don't. So they pick the most popular candidate in order to go for the official elections. They will be running on the 22nd of October, right, of this month, and and in case Milei gets the majority of the votes, it will be elected in the first round. Otherwise, what normally would happen is that they go for a second round, and that's when they end up where they pick the two best, or the ones they get more votes, right? And then they went for the second round and get elected.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, so the parties are in these coalitions, and so how did they decide who the top five were out of that race? Because there were a bunch of people running for president.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They just that's a political decision from the parties. They see which one is the most popular one. Normally, they do an election inside the party, an internal election, and they decide which one's going to be their candidate, and they just propose it, and then they go for the pasos, and they see that they don't have much popularity, and then they go for the official elections, um, and 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 if everything goes well, I think it's the first time that the president will be elected in the first round, which is the case of what the polls say about or predict what's going to happen in the next election with Milei.
Yeah, yeah. For example, you had the whole yeah, yeah. It looks like to me you had to have a certain percentage to move along, and we had. I mean, Millet got about 30%. Bullrich got 16.9%, 98%, but then this other guy in her coalition got 11.3. So
Hmm.
he was out. And then Massa was 21.4, and then somebody else got 5.87. So Massa moved on. So then it ends up being 30, 28, 27, which actually makes it pretty close. And then
So so
yeah,
Yeah. So that's the thing, Chris. So in the Pasos, what was so amazing about the results is that Milei got better results than all the other coalitions with the two candidates. You know, he was just by
yeah,
himself and he got better results. And the other thing is that a lot
yeah,
of people didn't want to vote for Milei because they thought that he didn't have the support that Juntos por el Cambio would have, for example. So this result show to people that Milei is an actual. He does have presidential options, to be elected, and a lot of people now is going to be voting for Milei because they saw that it is possible that he will become president. Otherwise, they thought that if they vote for Milei, that would be like a loose vote, and it could, end up helping Massa to become president. But now they see that Kirchnerismo is in the third position, which is the goal of this candidate, or of this political campaign from Milei. Milei was expecting to become second, not first. He wanted to be second to turn Frentes por el Cambio, el Frente de Todos, um, to the third position. But now Milei become first option, and el Frente de Todos, which is the Kirchnerismo or officialism, the ones that are in power right now, uh, were relegated to the third position, which is the best result that no one imagined. Not even Milei imagined that he was going to be the first option in the Pasos.
yeah. Yeah, that's good. And it sounds like to me he's doing better. I don't know. Somebody told me Bullrich isn't going to do well. I don't know. Uh, what do you think could get? What do you think could hurt his prospects right now? I mean,
They could hurt like Milei right now.
hurt his chances for election. Yeah. What do you think might?
Well, right now what we've been seeing, but pretty much we've seen it in the entire campaign, is
Yeah.
that most of media, not just in Argentina but also around South America, here in Chile, it's been amazing how incredible. I mean, how many journalists and different media have been just talking things about Milei that aren't true.
Yes.
Uh, it's just saying things. For example, this journalist wrote a book, a very fast book from one day to another about this certain biography about Millet, which is most of the things are not documented. They're all lies, pretty much. And he wrote this book, and they've been bringing this journalist around South America to talk about Millet, and so I don't think I don't think there's many things that can happen for Millet to not become president. I believe the only thing that could happen or can it, it could make that he doesn't become president is, I don't know, some sort of corruption scandal that was evident to everyone that Millet was lying, or I don't know, he was a murderer or something like that. But really, there's no other reason why he wouldn't become the next president of Argentina.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly possible too. That they'll come up with some kind of sex scandal. That's usually the standard
Yeah,
procedure in America. Uh, do you think you would see a union of Bullrich and Massa to try to stop him, or not?
I don't believe. I mean, look, I don't think
Yeah.
so. Not because they have different principles,
Yeah.
but because it would be very stupid from Bullrich to do something like that. Why? Because right now Massa and El Frente de Todos, which is the officialism, don't have any support from people in Argentina. People in Argentina are absolutely tired of these people being in government that they've been. I think most of the time, Macri was only for 4 years. All the other time, more than a decade, they've been in government. They've been destroying Argentinian economy
Yes.
and life standards for people. So they don't have any political strength right now. Most of them people they actually live from government support. Um, and if Bullrich do that to get rid of Milei, I think it will be much worse for her and her coalition than the damage that she could make to
Yeah.
Milei. I believe she will make Milei much more stronger if she does that.
Yeah. And Massa is also part of the Union por la Patria, or the Union for the Homeland, which is also the Christina Kirchner party, and some other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's yeah, he's both of these candidates are very much what I would call establishment candidates. They're not they're part of the problem, and therefore they're not going to be part of the solution. What I hear different definitions. What in your opinion is Peronism?
Peronism is everything that you could think of. I
Yeah, it
mean,
sounds like it's just kind of like socialists, kind of like fascists, but really just doing whatever they can do to get an elected and stay in power. Uh,
yes, that's what it is. But pretty much like in the strict point, or what is being the Peronist formula, speaking about Peron
yeah,
himself, he was a fascist.
yeah.
Okay, he was a full-on fascist, and one time more statist, and later on start to reduce a little bit the state, but always fascist. I mean, all the history of Argentina is being destroyed by Peronism. Well, since got into power, I think in the 1930s, where he started to implement all these sort of New Deal program in Argentina, and inspire by the fascists in Europe.
Oh yes, and it's Argentina became a haven for several escaped Nazis after the war,
Hmm.
including Adolf Eichmann and some others. They all went down there. I so it seemed like a safe place, and some of them did. Some of them did stay there for a long time. Yeah, so that's brings me one issue. Milei has been sending out some very messages that are very pro-Israel. What do you think he would? What do you think Milei would? What obviously he's going to try to take care of the domestic issues first, but what does Milei think about foreign policy? I mean, I think he's is he going to try to take the Malvinas, or is he going to?
No, he does have a plan. He does have a plan about Malvinas.
Yeah,
All right, he already speak about it, and also in the foreign policy. Well, he's absolutely pro-Israel, and
yeah,
also he's against China. I mean, he
yeah,
says that he won't have any commercial relations with China.
yeah,
As the state, right? People, if they want to have
yeah,
commercial relations with China, they're free to do it. But as a state, as a political,
yeah,
as a policy, they won't get any relations with any of human rights violations, dictatorships, etc. So China is off the map, according to what he's saying. And about Israel, he's been pro-Israel for a while, and about Malvinas, or
Falkland
Falkland
Islands.
Island, right? If
Yeah,
people don't know the name. So yeah, he does have a plan. I believe it's about negotiating, going for the diplomatic way with England, and try to see how to solve that. Yeah.
I, you know, the thing if the islands did become part of Argentina, would anybody want to live there? Because I mean, the only British people living there, are people who've just been sent there by the military. It's no, I mean, I think it was just up to everybody. They said, I don't want to live here, But anyway, so yeah, and certainly I think he'd have. And I mean, Argentina has pretty good relations with all their neighbors, right? I mean, they've all their, Chile and Brazil and Uruguay and Paraguay and
Well, we'll see. That's one of the things, though, because right now the neighborhood here in South America is full of socialists. You know,
yes,
and Lula, for example, already said that he's very worried and trying to talk about the elections in Argentina. And I don't see Milei as a person that would be like kind of nice with the the countries around it. I meaning as a international relationships, like becoming signing agreements of with them, or something else. That's a big question mark, because, as I said,
yeah,
if you have a person like Milei that is willing to cut commercial relations with China, is
yeah,
huge for South American economies. Is one of the main economical partners, right? In Chile, they have almost 40% of our exportations are to China. Boric is going to China right
stuff
now,
comes from China to Chile, or stuff goes from Chile to China.
from Chile to China.
Okay,
Okay, so it's our main commercial
yeah,
partner. So a president that is willing to take off that, to quit that, I believe is the right decision. But you need to have a huge plan to open your economy. Otherwise, it could lead to a
yes,
disaster. Mm.
yeah. It's definitely. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a protectionist, but he also maybe sees how trade has benefited China necessarily, but sometimes trade ends up benefiting one country more than the other. I mean, it's a rather it's a troubling phenomenon how that happens. So yeah, so you really love the country. So I want to. I think we've covered Milei pretty well. I did want to ask you what's been going on in Chile the last few years, and the protests and constitutional referendums and stuff like that. Where do you think Chile is going to go? Because it's still pretty much the freest country in South America, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah, well, that's the thing. Chile, I believe, in the short and medium term, it doesn't have much chance of getting better. As you mentioned, we have been erupted by this protest in 2019. The thing is that in Chile, most of the institutions and Chilean culture has swallowed this rhetoric about the social struggle and the injustice of the system. So we have, in one hand, people not understanding much the value of freedom, right? And on the other hand, you have politicians that are divided in two big groups. One of them is the extreme left, which is like, I believe in Chile, the left is one of the most extremist left in whole Occident. The Communist Party is something that we have here. is very well organized and is probably the most influential party in the entire in the political world in Chile, right? In politics, and and in the other hand, you have a right wing which doesn't have much values to defend. It's much of this sort of pessimism that disguise his pessimism with pragmatism, but they really uh, haven't done much of the work of the funding of like promoting the ideas of a free market society. uh, Quite the opposite. They end up believing in all this idea of redistribution system, and we get the results. In Chile we don't have inversion. No, there's no investment. I mean, the FMI and the World Bank just show the report that the only economies in South America that won't grow are Haiti, Argentina, and Chile. I mean, Argentina is close to an hyperinflation. Haiti, they don't have rule of law at all. And then it's Chile. They used to be the first country in South America. Like, there's no investment. Uh, the insecurity is increasing uh, in an accelerational way, like faster every time, every day. And the politicians are debating about the constitution, which is something that people don't care anymore. They never care about the constitution. It was a huge scam made by the political class and the media uh, since 2019 started, and all this violence started to happen. That much of it was organized from from outside of the country, but also by the institutions that they've been infesting with these socialist ideas. And they start to say that everything was about the constitution from one day to another. You have every single poll since the return of the democracy, which shows that people didn't care about the constitution. Never, it was never a problem. And so from one day to another, constitution was the main issue in the country. Everything what happened in Chile was to blame to the constitution. And now people elect in the past plebiscite, where they say we don't want this constitution, with a strong 52% of the entire country said we don't want the constitution, this new constitution that they propose. And then they elect the new, well, they put us um, into a new what is the name, like a process, constitutional process, where most of the uh, politicians elected were from Republican Party, which the Republican Party was the only party that says that they didn't want to change the constitution. So the people already say twice that they don't want a new constitution, and they keep on this uh, process. They keep on putting us on this process. And now Republican Party has turned into a really demagogy, what's the name in English, but like fallacies, a sort of a strategy now trying to promote for
Yeah.
people to approve this new constitution, this new proposal of constitution, which is really bad. And like people don't understand why, and everything is turning into a mess because of it. A lot of lies into the debate, a lot of dishonesty. I don't see a good future, at least in the short and middle term and midterm for Chile.
Yeah. How much of this is all being pushed by groups like the Sao Paulo Forum and possibly even the Cuban communists funding all this?
Well, that's the thing. You never know, but there's a huge influence by these groups in here, even mentioned by our own president and other political leaders in the country, talking about the Sao Paulo Forum and Cuba and stuff like that, and Venezuela. Uh, I believe there was a report from the Ministry of Defense, or I think from the military, talking about a lot of people that were foreigners, which were part of the incidents in 2019, where they burned 20, they set on fire 20 subway stations, 20 at the same time. That's not spontaneous at all. And we have a huge terrorism issue in the south of Chile. which people don't know much about it. But I mean, in Chile we know, but not international communities have talked about it, except for some human rights agrupations, which put Chile, South America, as it's been increasing in the terrorist ranking. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's all a lot of organizations, money that has been coming to Chile, which nobody declare where what is it for. We have a huge scandals with the Communist Party and funds coming from Venezuela and different sort of think tanks with finance by the minister of different ministers from Venezuela. It's a huge mess. We have a lot of scandals going on right now.
Yeah. You said south of the south of Chile. Is that down like in Concepcion or someplace like that? Because I didn't think there were that many people living in the south of Chile.
Yeah. It's called Macrozona Sur, which contemplates Araucanía, Los Lagos, and Biobío. Yes,
Yeah.
and the three regions together, and they try to disguise all these terrorism groups as aboriginal groups.
Yeah.
But the funny part is that the right wing always wins all the elections in La Araucanía, which is the region which have most of the indigenous population in entire
Yeah.
Chile, and they beat by far. Like right wings always win by far in that region. However, these groups, that are terrorist groups that perpetuate terrorist attacks every single day of the week, the entire year in the south of Chile, claim to be the voice of the indigenous movement in south of Chile, but they don't have any representative. However, um, they are the ones that are normally put in representation by the actual government.
Yeah, it seems like to me in some South American countries, there's still very much a divide between the indigenous South Americans and the descendants of Europeans. Is that how much does that impact Chile? I know it's pretty big in Peru and Bolivia, but
Yes, you're right. In Peru, Bolivia, and Ecuador is huge, but here in Chile it wasn't. I mean, in Chile,
yes,
most of Chileans are mixed. We don't have like pure indigenous people, like
okay,
very rarely, just a small portion of the population. Same with Argentina. So all this is being just growing and being created by different political policies that they done in the last 30 years, and also by money. I mean, the connections between the indigenous movement in the south of Chile with the FARC in Colombia are there. We have the reports, we have the evidence. However, nobody does anything about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not that optimistic about Chile. What's the what do libertarians and capitalists in Chile think of Pinochet? I mean, is it? I mean, obviously he was. I mean, what do they think about the whole situation? What and you probably weren't even alive then at all. But what can you tell me about the period, say from '73 till now, after Allende was overthrown?
Well, that's the thing. We cannot talk about that period without talking about Allende and the past periods. So this is a topic that divides Chilean the entire country, right? Because there's a lot of lies going around there about what happened on that time.
Yeah,
So what I could say, I will speak on my own representation, right? Um, so Pinochet gets to power because Allende tried to install a Marxist dictatorship to the point that 22nd of October of 1973, the Congress, together with the General Contralor and the Supreme Court of Chile, signed a document where they ask the military to take off Allende because Allende has deliberate, violate systematically human rights in Chile and fundamental rights. So you have, for example, a few things that so to illustrate what was going to happen there, what was happening at that time. Well, you didn't have any food. You have an hyperinflation that at least 600%. Uh, You got the, for example, the personal protection of Allende that is normally integrated by, Chilean intelligence. It was GAP, which was integrated by Cuban guerrilla men, and Cuban soldiers. And also you have a huge amount of terrorist groups that were perpetuating attacks every single day that Allende tried to formalize, saying, like, make them legal. The Supreme Court, one of the things that complain about is that they couldn't uh, apply any justice because even though they had the sentence, Allende didn't want to let the public force to help to take the people and put them in jail. So that's one of the many things that were happening at that time. And in that context, the entire Congress, together with the Supreme Court and the Contralorry, asked the military to take off Allende because it was absolutely illegal, everything that he was doing. So that's when the military forces come and took over the power. Sorry, I just signed it off. And the thing is that, uh, well, it was a huge impact for Chilean culture. But however, most of Chileans support this intervention by the military. Uh, Pinochet didn't want to be part of it at the beginning. The one that actually called Pinochet and say, "Look, we're going tomorrow to the La Moneda, which is like the White House, right, in Chile. We're gonna bomb the White House tomorrow." Was Merino, which was from the army, from the naval, and called Pinochet and say, "We're going tomorrow, 10 sharp o'clock, 10 o'clock at sharp, noon, sorry, morning. Are you up? You coming or not?" That was the point. Like, it's not about anymore the reality in Chile. And that's when Pinochet decided to join up, and they took over the power. And then you have from 73 to the next 17 years, a, a, a group that tried to figure out how to solve the huge mess that was Chile. We didn't have any institutions, anything was working, nothing was working. We have violence every single day. We didn't have food. We didn't have anything. And of course, they commit a lot of excess about the violations, the human right violations, right? And however, it was a lot of these violations cases aren't very clear because there's a lot of misinformation about them. For example, they talk about 10,000 gorillas, 20,000 gorillas were in Chile at that time, and and you have only 3,500 casualties. Um, then you have all these cases of what is it called? Fusilations. Is that the right word? Do you know what I mean by fusilation? Like, where they kill someone, they just put him in front of a wall and shoot him down.
Executions.
Executions. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah.
The executions of cases that they didn't have a fair trial before the executions, and they all were injustice. But many of them uh, haven't seen to be applied. Let's say the rule of law in it. For example, there's a lot of cases of people that are in jail right now, which weren't involved in these cases. However, there's a lot of political um, political capital on reinforcing the human rights violations during the Pinochet regime, right? And as a matter of fact, we have, I think, trying to remember the amount of people, but it's around 3,000 million Chilean pesos that cost Chile every year for paying for people that actually weren't victims of the Pinochet regime. And yeah, and Pinochet ended up reducing the state in a very minimal
Yeah.
percentage in those 17 years, and give back country that was working, running, and growing.
Yeah. So Pinochet has become. I can say I'm a victim of Pinochet, and that will I can get money for that. So that's
Yes, it is. To my opinion, Pinochet was one of the greatest statist statements in the 20th century, and maybe one of the biggest, and definitely one of the greatest in Chilean history. What he has to affront and the cost that he need to that he had to that he took by for making everything that he made, it was huge. It was huge. He got uh, because he wasn't a liberal. Of course, he wasn't, right? However, he did have the leadership to listen to people that knew what needed to be done. And I'm talking about political reforms, right? Which was different to all the dictatorships around South America, where they end up in a huge economical and social mess. Pinochet today is increasing in all polls. He has a lot of support. Is that Pinochet has more support than Gabriel Boric right now in the polls. So you get an idea.
yeah. It's yeah, definitely. So yeah. Uh, I assume that all over South America, it's all the college professors that are the biggest socialists, right?
Most of them,
Yeah, you pointed that out.
99% of them.
Yeah, this is something I've been reading about. Phil Magnus was pointing it out that, and others have, is that Karl Marx was about ready to become irrelevant until the Bolshevik Revolution happened, and then everybody suddenly gained an interest in him. I'm curious if Milei wins this election and really starts doing stuff. Could this have it? Could this change the intellectual culture of South America and maybe all over the world? I mean,
That,
yeah,
Chris, I that is a huge question. That's a huge impact
yeah,
that Milei would have if he become president and his reforms and he has a successful government. Because if he does, he won't just shake the entire political scenario, but also the the academic scenario. Because here in Chile, even though we used to have all these liberal right political reforms, most of economists are Keynesian right now. So if he does, they believe that Milei is crazy about the reforms that he's trying to implement. So if he does have a successful government, this will have a huge impact in the academical world, no doubt about it.
yeah. I mean, and sometimes I wonder, do you think maybe the Peronists and the socialists are just kind of scratching their heads and saying, "Is this really happening?" I mean, maybe that's kind of like, I can't believe this is actually happening, and it's like there's some kind of denial, and then by the time they realize, yes, it is happening, it'll be too late. Yeah,
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that's
yeah.
part of the case.
Uh,
I mean,
who, yeah, who are the Chilean Mileys right now, or are there any that we should be aware of?
look, I believe there's only two people
Yeah.
in Chile. Well, one of them is Axel Kaiser, which is not a politician, but is one of the most influential
Oh,
intellectuals
Axel Kaiser. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah,
in
he's
South
very
America.
influential. You said, yeah,
Yes, he is. He absolutely
yeah,
is.
yeah.
And the other one is Teresa Marinovich. I will write the name for
Teresa,
you. So she's not an economist,
Teresa, what?
Marinovich.
Madinovich.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Madinovich. Yeah.
she was one of the uh, elected candidates for the last process,
Yes.
constitutional process.
Okay.
To me,
Yeah.
she is the only one, the only politician. She's a liberal,
Yeah.
a classic liberal. However, even though she's not an economist, she is the only a, a public figure that is kind of more involved with politics
Yeah.
and and she's a very honest
Yeah.
woman, and she does have principles, and she defends those principles. And I
Yeah.
believe that she's the only one that in the entire political Chilean context that does that, and that implies that she end up in big arguments with even people like Republicanos that are friends of her. However, she's the only one that, to my judge, sees the big picture, and it's like this thing, this debate is about principles. It's not about pragmatism. It's not about short term policy. It's about principles. Because if we do not defend our principles, in the other hand, we have people that defend their principles. And their principles is that they want to install a socialist state. That's what they
Yes.
pursuing to. So if we don't protect our principles, if we don't protect the dignity of people, if we don't believe in freedom, if we don't defend every people's project, life's project, then we won't be able to change the course of the events that are happening right now in Chile.
Yeah. 9 kids and then got divorced. Wow.
Yes, she is. Yes, yeah.
9.
Nine kids.
Sometimes do these women just never sleep? I mean, how do you find time for 9 kids? And to do all this work? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a big question. I mean, she's
Yeah.
working all the time.
Oh gosh, yeah. She looks like she's fighting the good fights. Yeah, and you mentioned Axel Kaiser. Yeah, I certainly knew who that is. I'd not heard of Teresa Marinovich, and that's definitely it looks like she has some Croatian ancestry because that name is
Yeah, it's Croatian.
definitely not a Spanish name. Marinovich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, and I'm telling you,
Yeah.
because she doesn't like I mean, she doesn't want to be candidate to anything. But if she decides to run for president,
Yeah.
she will be the huge surprise of Chile, because she does have much more support than Jose Antonio Cast, and Jose Antonio Cast is the right wing candidate right now, which is becoming really popular because of what is Chilean context, with the
Yeah.
insecurity increasing every day, and all these other issues that are happening. And he's the only one that is talking about, justice, and and security, and blah blah blah. However, if Teresa Marinovich decides to run for president, she does have much more support than Jose Antonio Cast, and could become the first presidential option of the liberals in Chile.
Yeah, that would be that would certainly be good. Yeah. So yeah, I am learning about. I'm really finding some good people down there, and Italo. One reason why I've been following this a lot is I guess I'm very pessimistic about America, and I look at all these countries in South America that maybe this is a place where I could go live because I, you know I don't know why some Americans don't see, but as far as I'm concerned, South America is part of Western civilization. You all you trace your culture back to the Roman Empire, and if you can trace your culture back to the Roman Empire, you're a part of Western civilization.
Mhm.
And it's and in some cases I see a place to still see a place in the West still where marriage and family seems to be taken seriously, and I really hope you all keep it that way. You know,
Yes.
yeah,
I heard the same from what is his name? It's one of the. It's a Russian, which is a libertarian, very famous libertarian YouTuber.
Russian
Um,
libertarian YouTuber.
yeah, Mikhail Svetov. That's
Svetov,
his
yeah,
name.
Mikhail Svetov. I met him. I met him a couple years ago in Medellin.
Look at
Yeah,
that.
he's doing a lot of good work. He's not been in Russia. He's been globetrotting a lot. But yeah, I definitely know who that guy is. SVTV. Yeah,
Yeah, so I got to meet him, and he was also very very optimistic about South America. He said, "I believe there's a lot of potential here in
yeah,
South America that we can work on." But however, I do believe the same. I do believe that Argentina is a place of hope right now, But I would say that we cannot give up on America. I mean, America, not just because I believe politics and works a lot of about symbols, symbology, right? And in America means so much for a libertarian movement, for liberals, for
Yeah,
our ideas, for the people that defend liberty, that we cannot give up on America. We
yeah,
cannot give America to these people that wants to destroy Western civilization, and we
yeah,
need to find a way. And I believe we having a we're having a reaction, a positive reaction against these things, and we need to be optimistic about the future, the long term future. Right now, of course, things look like they're really hard to fix. They're not fixable. Well, we need to think that the cultural battle it doesn't have any timeline. It just go on, you know. So
yeah,
we need to keep working on that because we cannot lose America. America is the reference. It's a huge historical symbol for liberty, and we need to make sure that we not lose it against these people that wants to destroy our beliefs, our culture, and to be honest, to what's right, you know.
yeah.
So don't give up.
I do think there. I've noticed the libertarians around the world have a very romantic vision of America, and the libertarians in America probably go way too far as being pessimistic. I often say that the most trouble. If there's one statistic that's the most troubling about America, it's that our life expectancy has actually been going down slightly since 2014. And
Hmm.
you can measure, you can put all these metrics out though, but I think the ultimate measure of how well off or how poor or not well off a society is doing is just seeing how long people live.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
and
what you mean.
yeah, I mean, that goes back to 2014. Now it's definitely not a positive trend. I all and as some people told me too, Argentina is having their libertarian revolution largely because things are getting so bad. Uh,
Mhm.
it's still, I don't think Americans really are getting to that desperate point. When I visited Peru 6 years ago, the thing that probably that's struck me the most is I said this is the first time I've really seen what poverty looks like. If you've never left America, you don't know what it looks like.
Yeah, I know you told me that, and you know that's the case also in Chile.
Yeah,
In Chile, the poverty here in Chile is not even close to what Peru's poverty is. It's not
yeah,
even close to what poverty is in Argentina. And don't let me start about Venezuela. But that's the thing that always happened in human history, even with the old Greeks,
yeah,
right? With the
yeah,
Athenians and what is it called, Spartans and all that. So I do believe, there's this really famous article written by Rothbard. It's called "Left and Right: Prospects of Liberty." Right. Well, he talks about that. In those years, where he says for the libertarians, the main task of the present epoch is to cast off his needless and debilitating pessimism, to set his sights on long-run victory and to set about the road to its attainment. I believe that's the message that we need to deliver to most of libertarians around the world. Because I'm telling you, it's not about romantic view of America. It's just
yeah,
about symbols. I know what is the reality right now in America. Uh, um, I have a lot of people, a lot of friends over there. The situation with universities. I've seen what the president that you guys have right now. How do they tag the public debates
yeah.
that they've been having? What happened with the pandemics? What's happening in California? What's happening
Oh yeah,
in Florida and all these places? I went to San Francisco a few years ago and see everything that's happening. But 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 that's my point. Is that we cannot give up. We cannot be pessimistic because once we
yeah,
become pessimistic about the long term future, that's when we start to give up on our ideas, and that's when they win. We cannot let them win because we are defending what's right,
yeah.
and right is worth to be defended.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to ask about. What was life in Chile like during the time of the big bad virus? Uh,
Mm. Well, it was pretty messed. I mean, Chile, we still involved with all these crazy ideas about the quarantines and stuff like that.
Still?
Uh, yeah, I mean we don't have any anymore, but there's still a lot of places where you need to be with the mask on, and
Oh
a lot
God.
of places. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So
Is it worse than Peru was? Peru was
yeah,
horrible.
yeah. Here was Chile is a country where we are really respectful of what government says. If
Yeah.
government says that we need to be in quarantine and wear masks everywhere, you're gonna be a really bad guy pointed out by your own by their own citizens,
Yeah.
by the citizens, for not following the law.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. That is good side and his bad side. The bad side
Yeah.
is that we are in a perfect scenario for any other totalitarian regime that wants to, get in power.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard that about Chile. I've also heard I've also heard that might be an Incan influence,
What?
an influence that comes from the Incas.
Yeah, very little in the north of Chile. We
Yeah,
don't have much Inca influence, to be honest. Yeah,
I wasn't sure. I've because I've heard the same thing about Peru. Because I know the Incan Empire was all. I don't know how much it covered Chile, but yeah, it's
yeah, they go to the north of Chile. However, there's this myth about the Mapuches being
yeah,
really strong warriors, which is the reason why Incas
yes,
never tried to go far away from to the south, because they were like,
yeah,
that's the thing about anarcho-capitalist theory. Uh, Mapuches didn't have any leader. You know, they have
yeah,
one leader. They have a lot of tribes. They always were in conflict among them, and they don't have a leader. The leader only appears once they went to war. Otherwise, they were pretty, of course, anarchist kind of civilization.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely something. Yeah, I don't think that kind of blind obedience is ever really a good thing.
I
It
agree.
gets manipulated. Uh, you know, one thing else too is I'm curious. Milei made those comments about the Pope being a communist, and he basically is a communist. What is the How much of an influence do you think he's having on South America? Because I hear a lot of cases the Catholic Church is kind of influencing the socialism there. Do you think that's a difference, or do you think it's still not that important?
It is, but I'm not sure that he does have much influence here in Chile. Chile is
Yeah,
like Chile is very hypocrite. We say we're Catholics, but
yeah,
Catholic Church doesn't have that much support as in Argentina. In Argentina, Catholic Church is much more influential, and other countries of South America. Chile is not that influential, really. I believe evangelist church does have much more, or Protestant church nowadays have much more influence in the
yeah,
population than Catholics.
yeah,
However,
yeah,
there is an Italian historian, expert, is historian. Well, from Italy, Carl Loris Sanata.
yeah. Loris Sonata. I think I've heard somebody's
He's been
mentioned
in Chile not long ago. I think a few weeks he was here in Chile.
Loris Sonata. Yes, somebody else has mentioned him on here. Yeah,
He was brought by Axel Kaiser for the Foundation para el Progreso, which is Axel Kaiser Foundation think tank. And he does have a few books very interesting. He's done a very good and deep research about the influence of the Catholic Church here in South America, especially the Jesuits. Jesuits, that's how you call them in
yeah,
English.
Jesuits. Yeah,
Yeah, and his relations, the Jesuits' relation with Fidel Castro and the Marxist theorist or fascist mainly theorizers or ideas, and their influence in South America. I believe he does have much more to say about that than I could.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely something where, yeah, you know. So if I ever go down to visit Chile, where should I visit? Santiago. I mean, well, I'll have to fly into Santiago, but where do I go from there?
Well, there's one. beautiful place in the north that I absolutely recommend. That is called San Pedro de Atacama. I will write it for you.
San Pedro de Acama. Yeah.
That's a little town in the middle of the desert, which have such landscapes,
Oh yeah.
amazing landscapes. Is
Yes.
beautiful. The vibe of it, and is that place I absolutely recommend it. And of course, the south of Chile, where you have Torres del Paine, which is a reserve, um, Torres del Paine, which
Yeah. Yeah.
is a natural reserve, and you have many other ones down that part of Chile, like the very south
Yeah.
is the best part of Chile. Together with this part of the north, I believe those are the things that you cannot miss.
Yeah. San Pedro de Atacama. That's that's the driest desert in the world, I believe.
It is, it
Yeah.
is, it is,
Yeah.
and they have geysers. They have
Torres del Paine. And also that's also fairly close to where the copper miners were stuck for about 2 months, right?
yes, it is, it is,
Yeah, that
because
was.
it's next to what is it called, Calama, which is a minor city.
Yeah, yeah. I had a long before I was born. I actually had a great uncle who was killed in a coal mining accident. So I was really following that when it was going on. I watched the
Yeah.
30. I watched the movie about it, the 33, and it was so intense. I remember when it happened. I said, it's gonna be difficult, but they'll get those guys out. And it was really great when they got all those guys out. It was just amazing.
Well, you watch the movie, so you know there was a lot of luck involved with the rescuing of these 33 miners.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's an amazing heroic story of survival. And from what I hear, those guys are all still friends.
Well, some of them, a lot of them argue with each other, discuss
Yeah.
about money issues. So
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah. It's interesting too. Yeah, Torres del Paine. Of course, we can probably go down south and see penguins. Or the
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah penguins.
You like penguins?
It's just they're very fascinating animals. You got this bird who lives in the bird who doesn't fly and just looks like wearing a tuxedo. It's just always been one of the more interesting.
Well, we have a we have a resort
Creatures.
a bit in the north of Chile, in Pichidangui, I believe,
Yeah,
where there's this island which have this extinction dangerous species, which is a penguin that is called the suicide penguin.
yeah,
And the reason why they are in danger is because once they see you, they rather die than let you touch them. So if they have a risk, they just jump over the cliff instead of letting you touch them. And that's what they call suicide penguin.
yeah. And I know, like a lot of other South American cities, about a large portion of the people live around in and around Santiago. It's very interesting we see that in South America. I know there's some other cities like there's Concepcion, there's Valparaiso, there's yeah,
Yes.
go
Well,
right
the
down.
thing about Chile, because of its geography, as you said, is a really stretched country.
Yeah,
You are like 1 hour. If you live in Santiago, you're an hour and a half from the snow in the mountains
yeah,
in Los Angeles, and an hour and a half away from the beach. They're
yeah,
not very nice beaches, but you're still 1 hour and a half away from the beach. So
yeah. Certainly, yeah. Because the country is so long, are there any separatist movements where one portion wants to? Because it's just such an interesting. I guess it's just because everybody just kind of follows the law, so to speak. There, but uh,
yeah, but that's the thing
you know,
about culture in Chile. That we all follow the
yeah,
same traditions. Like the only separationist movement that is right now is the one, the indigenous movement, which is
yeah,
the one that I mentioned you, the
yeah,
extreme left ones that they want to become their own republic. However, they want to live out of our taxes. It's at the same time, so it's not much
I,
of a separatist movement.
I can imagine too. I can imagine that driving from say Santiago to Buenos Aires is probably a beautiful drive. I mean, it's probably long, but going through those mountains, it's got to be amazing if you drive that.
Yes, if you go to the south, you can go to Puerto Varas, which is beautiful, and go driving to Bariloche, which is in Argentina, and it's an amazing place to see beautiful landscapes,
Oh,
lagoons, volcanoes, etc.
yeah, you've been down there?
Yeah, I've been down there. It's beautiful. It's
Oh, wow, yeah.
really beautiful. Yes.
Still very unspoiled. Yeah. What's the best time of year to go down there?
Well, I believe right now, like
Oh,
this
okay.
time, because September is the what is it called? Like the
Equinox.
independence. In independent. Well, we're in spring right now.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The equinox. It's well, the equinox is when you have equal day, equal night.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you
Yeah,
have the what is it called? Ah, the country parties. You know, in September, 18th of September, we
yeah,
celebrate not the Independence Day, but sort of like the same celebration. So you have the national days, and you have huge barbecues everywhere, and amazing like nightlife and food everywhere. It's a huge celebration here in Chile. I really enjoyed these times, and yeah, I believe now is a good time because it's not that cold, but also not that hot. Uh, Also, the tourism, you're not like full of tourism in those places. Yeah, I believe now is the best time, like between September and October.
yeah. I can imagine it's got to be it. Yeah, maybe. I guess tourism. I guess tourism gets more as it gets warmer. Then,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. Maybe that would be a good time to go down. Yeah. Uh, so yeah. What do you think about the prospects for the rest of South America? I mean, I got to ask, what do you think about Bukele and El Salvador? President
Well,
Bitcoin.
yeah, I know President Bitcoin. I don't have much opinion about it because I don't know much about him. I just seen what the media tell me and a bit about what his popularity is in South America. He's very popular. I've seen his interventions in the UN. I really like them. I like the way he speaks. However, I don't know what's going on down there, because about all this persecution of these criminals, which of
Yeah,
course I agree with. However, that also might be another things that I'm not aware of, right? So I could say that I was in Guatemala not long ago. I've seen the Maras situation, this gang situation in Central America, and I do understand the politics that Bukele is implementing, the
yeah.
results that he's getting about it. If all the information that is around was true that I've seen, I would say I really like Bukele. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I
One of my recent guests just said, "I'm proud to be a Salvadorian now," and I thought that was really telling. It's a
Mhm.
there hasn't been much good news coming out of there, so it's a. I don't know
Yes,
how
but
you
that's the
I don't
thing
know how you
because
get things going right, but I hope that you can certainly improve things and make things better there. It's a and maybe this is another case too where we'll maybe see some influence around South America to make it Central and South America to make it better. What are some good sources if I want to know what's going on in South America right now? I mean, I know yeah, I know about the Pan Am Post, but there's what are some other good ones?
you got El Libero. El
El
Libero
Libro,
is yeah, El Libero is a newspaper here,
El
which
Libro. That's like a El Libro. Yeah,
El Libero. I'll write it down for you.
yeah.
Um, El Libero. You also have Fundación
El
Nuevamente.
Libero. Yeah, El Libero. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's good. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Fundación Nuevamente, which is a foundation where I work on. They do a very good research. Also, Fundación para el Progreso, which is the Axel Kaiser Foundation. Fundación para el
Yes.
Progreso.
Fundación Nuevamente. Yes.
Yes.
Fundación
And
Fundación Nuevamente. That's new what?
New Mind.
New Mind. Okay. Yes. Foundation for the New Mind. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm glad to know there's some there's so many people out there doing so much good work. It's really hard to. I mean, since I started doing this show, I'm just amazed at all the people that are out there doing good work. It's really been uplifting and just yeah.
And
Fundación para el Progreso, so Foundation
yeah,
for Progress. Yeah, yeah, is what that means.
yeah.
Yes.
La Tercera and El Mercurio are two new like main newspapers here in
Yeah,
Chile. Those are two one of the main newspapers you will
yeah.
find.
What do you think? Do you have any opinions on how things might go in some other countries, like Peru, like Bolivia, or any place else around there? Because it sounds like you're pretty knowledgeable on what's going on down there.
Well, it's I don't have like a strong opinion about it because I'm not an expert, to be honest. I haven't followed much of the Peru case. I've seen some of the things that happen. I've seen the
Yeah,
relations between our president with the with what's been happening over there. Bolivia, maybe Bolivia is a case that I could tell you that is going into a huge
yeah,
crisis right now. Well, even more of a crisis than they already
yeah,
are. That
yeah.
a lot of friends over there, and I know that
Mhm.
they're getting out of. They're achieving the things that only socialists can achieve, which is let a country like Bolivia, that is built over gas, natural gas, to be to suffer lack of natural gas. So I know
Of
that's a
course,
huge
yes,
crisis.
yeah.
So
That's yeah, yeah. And is Bolivia still probably the poorest country down there, or
oh well,
maybe
Venezuela,
Venezuela is now?
Venezuela, Venezuela,
Yeah,
Venezuela.
Venezuela is just yeah. It's really sad. I know it's.
Yeah,
I,
Venezuela is
I've
nuts. Venezuela
I've
is
met some
actually.
Venezuelans there. Yeah, I mean I know there's also the Madrid Forum, which is basically a counter to the Sao Paulo Forum. They're working to
Yes.
oppose these. I think one of the great mistakes there's a difference between being anti-communist and being pro-free market, and you find that there are a lot of people who are anti-communist, but there aren't that many people who come out and say, "Yes, I'm really for capitalism," and I think that's why the fight against capitalism is lost. To his credit, Milei is pro-capitalist. I think he's. I don't see, and I hardly see any Americans talking the way he does, and the
I
brilliance, yeah, and he puts
no
this
sorry.
in.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. He puts these things into terms people can understand, and he talks about the symptoms. He talks about the disease. He really, and I think he's he could end up being the greatest libertarian ever. It's and this could
Yes.
end up being he could be the Lenin of libertarianism if this works out. If he
Absolutely.
could have that much impact, I think. I said this might be the capitalist and democratic version of the Bolshevik Revolution. I hope it happens that way. And
I mean, that's a
yeah,
great analogy.
yeah, and I'll brag. If there's any Anglophone podcaster who's covering Milei the way I am, I'm not aware of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like that's what I mean. I sorry.
yeah. Oh, dogs! Hey, bring him on.
But
Let's meet him. What's his name?
his name is champignon, mushrooms, mushroom,
Champion mushrooms. Mushrooms.
mushroom. It means mushroom. Yeah.
What breed?
It's a Chilean breed. It's the only Chilean breed that exists. That is called a Chilean Terrier.
Yeah, Chilean Terrier. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
If he comes back, I'll show you. Well, yes, I believe Millet.
He
What you
barks
mentioned,
in
I think
Spanish. Yes.
Millet is a great with the Bolshevik
Yeah.
revolution is a great analogy to put it on. Is I believe is the only politician that actually is speaking right now the way
Yeah.
he does in the world. I would dare to say, and it could have a huge impact
Yes.
economically. I mean, politically and intellectually around the world. So yeah, I would say there's a lot of hope there.
Yeah. I
And
think you're
sorry,
right.
and one thing, Chris,
Right.
what you mentioned that I think was really important because it's something that I've been speaking here in the media in Chile. There is about that in Chile
Yeah.
we have a huge portion of the right wing that are anti-communist,
Yes.
but it's not the same to be pro-liberty than to be
It's not.
anti-communist. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that I'm trying to that I tell to people, and actually we have the first Libertarian Congress now in the 9th of November that I'm organizing with a lot of speakers, and that's the speech. That's what the idea that I want people to understand. We need to, if we
Yeah.
want to change, we
Yeah.
need to understand liberty because we value liberty, not because we are anti-communist.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh,
Your conference is, you said, what day is that?
9th of November, November 9th.
9th of November.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. I noticed also the Latin American Bitcoin conference is happening in Buenos Aires, so I've been looking around that. Yeah, good that. So you're going to get some Spanish speaking libertarians there. That sounds good.
So it's gonna be Axel Kaiser. It's gonna be there. Also, it's gonna be Alejandro Vigo, which is a philosopher.
Alejandro Vigo, you said?
Yeah, he, man, to me, he's the most.
Vigo, you said?
Yeah, I wrote it down there. To me, he's a philosophy professor that I believe is one of the most smart, maybe intellectuals that I ever heard. I don't know if I know many of that have been at his level. He's just an
Yeah.
amazing intellectual. And Victor Espinosa, which is one of the an economist, a Chilean economist that is building a new school of well, the first Austrian School of Economics center here in Chile, like in universities, diplomas and stuff like that.
Yeah, Victor Espinosa, yes. Oh yeah, here he is. Es economista.
Yeah, economist.
Yeah,
He's one of the disciples of Jesus Huerta de Soto,
yeah.
one of the main
Huerta de
students.
Soto, yeah. Yeah, that's Milei's teacher, Huerta de Soto. Yeah.
Well, yeah, one of the it's just that I don't know if he's Milei's teacher, but he's definitely one of the most influential Austrian economics. Spanish, he's Spanish, he's from Spain.
Yeah.
In all Spanish culture.
Yeah. Is there anybody else in Spain I should be aware of? I know there's Mario Vargas Llosa and Ortega y Gasset, but yeah, any other Spanish-speaking people I should be aware of in the
Yes,
past? The
Antonio
school of
Escobar.
Salamanca and the school of Salamanca from the Spanish scholastics also. But yeah, there's a lot of amazing people out there. It's really great to know this. Yeah, thank you very
Antonio
much.
Escotado, Antonio Escotado, Miguel
Oh
Ancho
yeah,
Bastos.
yeah. Miguel Ancho Bastos. Yeah, I know who that is. Yeah.
Antonio Escotado, do you know him?
Yeah. Who?
Antonio Escotado.
Antonio Escojota.
Escotado.
Okay, yeah. No, I don't know who that is, but yeah, I know Bustos. Yeah, I know Bernegas Lynch. Yeah, too. That's somebody else there too. I've been messaging a lot of
Antonio
people.
Escotado is one of the most brilliant people I ever heard. He died 2 years ago. He built the history of he wrote the history of communism.
Yeah.
That is called Los Enemigos del Comercio, and also the history of drugs.
Oh yes.
He was the first person on translating the what is it called, Principia de Matemática to Spanish from Newton,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
he's just
Sounds good. Yeah.
brilliant,
This is one thing important for all our good libertarian friends down there in Latin America. There's probably some translation projects you can take on if you want a project. Take on some translation projects. There's still a lot of good stuff there. Also I had I'm curious how much do people? I know Milei sometimes said he's not that big a fan of Ayn Rand. Is Ayn Rand got an influence down there or not? Or how much of an influence?
In Chile and Argentina, I haven't. Well, I know in Argentina there's really
Yeah.
powerful groups that are Randians, right?
Yeah.
However, in Chile, I haven't met many Randians, just a few of them.
Yeah, it sounds
It's
like
not that popular.
sounds like people are more going for the economics issues, which is interesting. I hope they're doing the right work, but I do wonder sometimes if some of these people are doing the right kind of outreach. I tell you, this has been a great discussion. You have anything else you want to say before we go? Any website I should link to, or where we can find out more about you? Or
Oh yeah, of course. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Chris. I'm sorry my English
yeah,
is so rusty. I will
yeah,
stay practicing in
yeah.
order to
Thank
get
you.
more fluent, and I can explain better what I want to say, right?
Well,
Well, maybe Plip Chile. I will write it down. Plip
well,
Chile.
I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate getting. I'd like to get all of Milei's neighbors on here, and if we get Uruguay on here, we can get Paraguay on here. Maybe get a Brazilian on here. In fact, if you could recommend some people,
Well, yeah, of course. I'll recommend you
I've had
people.
a Peruvian on here. I've had somebody from Ecuador. It's always lots of good. There's so many good people out there doing so many great things. It's
Yes, they are.
we're gonna
Well,
we're gonna
I believe just to not recommend too many, to not give too much information. I would invite you, all of you, to follow me in my foundation. It is called Novum Foundation.
yeah
Uh,
yeah
right now, the website you won't be able to get into it
Home Foundation. Yes.
because of the server. I need to change the server for people overseas
Yeah
to be able to access.
yeah yeah. You've
However, you can follow it in Instagram, in mainly Instagram, where you can see a little bit of our work. We do homeschools in
yeah
ghettos, in the
yeah
heart of the ghettos of Chile, and
yeah.
it's my life project. So, yeah,
You know, there's one thing also too. I've noticed that ayahuasca is explicitly illegal in Chile. The great Amazonian plant medicines have been used for thousands of years. I hope you guys will change that.
yes,
So,
me too.
Chileans don't have to go. But I've noticed also the non-indigenous South Americans have almost no interest in ayahuasca anyway. But it's that I went to Peru for that 6 years ago. It was definitely an eye-opening experience, and I've been to Medellin and Bogota as well. Of course, Bogota altitude sickness just about killed me, but yeah, Medellin was nice. Yes, the three highest national capitals in the world are Bogota, Quito, and La Paz. Uh,
Mm,
yeah, so yeah, but so it's definitely a lovely place. I hope we can. I hope I can make it down there sometime. Back again, but it's a
you have
glorious.
to, Chris.
Yeah. Well, I've got a Substack. Please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Follow my channel. Thumbs up my video. Go buy my novel, Escape from the Village. I'm Chris Baker, and we're out. Thank you, Italo. Bye bye.